Welcome, my fellow irradiated mutanoids.
I mean, speak for yourself.
I've got a question for you, punks. What happens when you cross 80 synthwave, a near Fremen level of reverence for H2O, and an overall thirst for destruction?
Ooh.
Alright.
David Bowie and Labyrinth.
No, damn it! You get us, your new family, your only ticket to redemption in this godforsaken wasteland. But despite that, today is a glorious day, the first day of the rest of your miserable, short, pathetic lives.
Rude.
And do you know why it's glorious? No, not you. Definitely not you. Yeah, you. Tell me, why is today glorious? Wrong! It's because you have the opportunity to raise hellfire and magnificent destruction upon our enemies!
Yeah! Woo! Woo! Yes! Ah!
Introducing Radlands, a post-apocalyptic card game duel extravaganza. Be prepared for a tight, well-made game that's littered with pop-tastic and colourful artwork. So it's basically a two-player game where your objective is to destroy your opponent's bases before they destroy yours.
Gameplay in this fast-paced lane battler unfolds roughly as follows. Each player is dealt 6 camp cards and selects 3 of them. The other 3 cards are discarded. Each camp card has a unique ability, and so finding that combination that gives you the upper hand is essential. The camp cards you choose will also determine how many cards you get in your starting hand.
After bases have been selected, players draw the requisite number of cards from the communal deck located centrally between the players. The cards you draw will be a mixture of events which take effect after a number of rounds indicated by the card, and characters which you'll be able to play up to 2 deep in front of each camp, and these characters will serve as both defenders and aggressors.
Remember kids, punks are people too.
Each round you'll draw a card and take as many actions as you can. But just as a grand don't come for free, neither do actions in Radlands, and most actions you take will cost you water. In the beginning of each round you will automatically replenish 3 water, and this is what you'll have to base all your decisions upon. Do you spend some water to restore one of your damaged cards, or shoot like hell at your opponent's base, which is like looking a bit vulnerable? You never feel like you have quite enough of it, making it for a tight and restrictive economy that ultimately makes gameplay and the decisions you make around it pretty important.
But if you're a little tier rich, water short, you do also have the option to junk cards, which costs no water and allows you to take a one-time action located here, which can be to bring out a punk, repair cards, attack enemies, etc. It may seem less powerful at first than playing a character or event, but a well-timed junk card action can really sway the game. A couple of other things to note about cards. First off, your opponent can attack your characters and bases to damage or destroy them, though they'll usually only be able to attack the first card in each row, making getting characters out in front of your bases essential if you want to protect them. A card that is undamaged can be used freely, as long as it's considered ready. Bases are always ready, and characters are ready the turn after they were played. When a card gets damaged by an opponent, however, it's turned to the side to indicate this. You can't perform any action on that card until that card has been restored. Restoring cards is just one of several actions that cards can take, and is symbolized like so. And finally, if a card is destroyed, which usually means it has taken 2 hits, then it's toast. Characters are killed and placed in the discard pile, bases are flipped over, and are now basically smoldering wrecks.
Also note that there are 2 cards that players always have access to. The first is the Water Tower, allowing you to pay 1 water now for 1 water you can use in a subsequent round. And then there's also the Raider event card, which you'll need to activate using said action, which will allow you to damage one of your opponent's bases of their choosing after 2 rounds. And that's essentially it. You now know the broad rules of the game. You and your opponent will go back and forth, each taking as many actions as you can each turn, until one of you is crowned victor and Armageddon champion, and the other is, well, crowned dead.
I guess one of the most important questions that you find human beings watching will want to know is what we think of Radlands, and whether or not, they probably don't, but still. Con and I both agree that this game has a lot going for it. The gameplay is tight but often surprising, and also endlessly varied depending on what bases you choose and what cards you draw. This allows for some surprises and upsets that keep you engaged even with multiple playthroughs. We also appreciate the size and scope of this game as something that can complement a collection that is already filled with big, beefy games.
Beefy.
It plays fairly light and fast, with each gameplay session taking around 20 or 30 minutes. It also doesn't take up much space on the shelf, especially if you just get the retail edition, which is about this big. And you can always just pull out this little guy to take with you on the road if you're traveling or visiting a friend.
I often take the role of teaching games to our family and friends, and so what I appreciate with Radlands is that the rules are so simple and they fit into this tiny little booklet. Teaching it to somebody new takes roughly like 5 minutes, and it's just nice having a game that you can just jump into quickly. And yet, despite the simplicity, it packs a mean punch overall. Of course, this game does it stylishly with great artwork and wonderful production quality. You know, the premium version includes the waterproof synthetic cards, these lovely chunky water tokens that makes playing the game feel like a delight. You can also splurge on the Super Deluxe version, which includes these nifty neoprene mats. While not entirely necessary, having everything laid out in this way makes understanding and playing the game easier, and also gives the game an added level of visual polish. Of course, you can also just buy the regular retail version, which comes with the regular paper card stock and cardboard water tokens, but you still get a similar gaming experience just without the bells and whistles and at a lower cost.
And I think in general, Khan is more interested in aggressive dueling games than I am. Personally, I find that these games can kind of make me anxious, especially and importantly, if I keep losing over and over again, which doesn't happen often. Doesn't happen very often. But I found that Radlands doesn't have this effect for me. There's just the right amount of strategy versus luck that makes it less stressful or mentally taxing, and makes it so that you're both winning games fairly consistently, which in turn makes it kind of a more relaxed dueling game that even I can really get behind.
Radlands is a game that doesn't outstay its welcome, and it's actually just the kind of game that makes you want to play more than once. You know, maybe a best out of 3.
So yes, this is an easy recommend from us both.
Thank you, ladies and gents, for sitting and watching, and we hope you enjoyed.
Radlands.